Finally got to watch episode 4 of Pluribus. It was as interesting as every other episode so far. It keeps on with the mystery of the whole situation and kind of moves away from how the world survived the initial crisis to more of how Carol is trying to navigate the situation and keeping her individuality. Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Hoos. Thank you for joining me. We're talking about Pluribus episode 4. I finally got my opportunity to watch it. Very intriguing as usual. We're going to go into the breakdown of it, full of spoilers. So if you haven't watched it, please go watch the show, watch the other breakdowns, come back, watch this video, and then we'll go into the comments. So we're going to break down how the show went, my thoughts, theories, and possible next event. So we'll go into the breakdown now. So let's move on to what happened in episode 4. So the beginning scene of this show follows one of the unjoined persons that's out in Peru that Claire actually spoke to earlier in episode 3, I believe, when she made that call on the plane. They are living their life in complete solitude. They're avoiding anything related to the joining, anything related to society outside, complete isolation in their business location, and has the walls boarded up to making sure nothing gets in, nothing gets out. The only thing they were doing is trying to get a signal, try to see what's going on out there. Besides that, he was scrapping for every last little bit of food, more so whether it's human or even crazy enough dog food, which he broke out of one of the storage containers at his business. So this man is scraping by, avoiding any kind of food the others were offering, and doing anything and everything he can to stay isolated. And then Claire starts calling, the call that you've seen from the plane, and he continues to shut her down as well. But he does make note of her name, so it does seem like he might come and make an appearance later on in the show. Question as to what capacity, or if he actually is going to make any moves, break his isolation. So he took the extreme measure to avoid the joining and the others completely. Unlike Claire, who is more responsive to him, speaking to him, trying to analyze what's going on, how they tick, what's happening, and how she can stop herself from being forced to join them, as well as get anyone who wants to be out of the joining out. Now, like I mentioned, they started roughly like 8 to 10 minutes of just pure silence watching this guy work. It was very intriguing because it wasn't like boring, just very intentful in everything that happened in that scene. Until the moment when Carol calls, that's the first words you hear. I found that pretty cool. It was nice to have yet again another scene where you just get immersed with every little detail of what was happening. Now, next we pick up with Carol coming out of the hospital. She is trying to deal with the whole situation of Zosa recovering from the grenade, the conversation she had with the other about what they're willing to do for her and making her happy. So she's trying to come to grips with how to handle that. She returns home and she sees that the others are actually cleaning up her place from the grenade explosion. And she gets freaked out by that. She goes inside, tries to figure out something. She's plotting like she does for any kind of book she writes, in terms of what to do next, how to cure the situation, how to avoid being called in or pulled into the joining and becoming one of the others. She then gets the idea of speaking to one another, gathering more information. They go ahead and she picks one to volunteer, and they discuss the purpose of the others, and she tries to gather more information. They eventually delve into her work and how she learns about how they feel like everything is loved, everything is good to the same standard. For example, her work versus Shakespeare and things like that, other high quality English work. And obviously to her, that's baffling. To them, it's absolutely normal because, again, they're like a hive mind. Basically, if people like it, which based on a hive mind and the law of large number, there are some that like it, they will consider it a good project or a good property. So that led her into more questions, and she tried to gather more information from them. Afterwards, she eventually dismisses them and then gets to thinking some more. Turns back to Souza at the hospital trying to check on her and hands her one of those milk cartons and speaks to her about how this whole joining situation can be averted and how she can avoid being pulled in and finding a cure for it. As she spoke to Souza about that, she then asked her about, is there a way to cure people, bring them out of the joining, bring them back to who they were? And Souza gave her a non-answer. So then she puts together with that non-answer that there might be something that could be a solution to returning people back to who they were. And then kind of puts together that she can't really lie. Also, with her not being able to lie, that also triggered something with Carol. So she decides to go to the drugs in the hospital and find a truth serum to help pull out the truth that she's looking for, since Souza refused to actually answer her question directly. So she manages to locate a truth serum drug from the hospital and leaves. She then tests it on herself at home and reveals a few things, put it on camera, record it, and then once she comes to and she's back to normal, review the video. And she did say a lot of telling stuff, and the one that really snapped her into seeing that the drug actually worked, she recognized that she kind of has a thing for Souza. So she decides that's her next course of action. Turns back to the hospital with the drug, ready to go and give it to Souza so she can try to pull that answer from her. But she tries to isolate her first. She gets her to take a walk with her. She's in a wheelchair, IV still connected to her. And as they're in the elevator, she decides to inject her with a bunch of the truth serum, a little bit more than she gave to herself. So we get to a point where Souza starts getting a little affected by the drug itself, and she starts slipping in her words, and she is now starting to get questioned directly about, is there a cure to the joining? And Souza starts just basically seizing up and not being able to answer. After she gets distressed enough, that's when all of the other others come in, start trying to influence Carol, saying, please, Carol, please, over and over and over again. Now, it does lead to a question whether they're saying, please join us, or please stop hurting Souza. But who knows? That we'll have to dive into a little later on when we get more information. But they repeated that until Souza, it seems like, had a cardiac arrest, and Carol relinquishes her efforts and lets them try to bring her back and take care of her. At that point, that's when the episode ends, and you see Carol just reflecting, trying to figure out how can she go about the next step to solve her situation. So that's where the episode ends. Very intriguing. I enjoyed it a lot. It was intense. It wasn't an action-packed, but very intense, focused, and deliberate with everything that they did in the show. I enjoyed every little intricate detail they put in there, the connections or the interactions that she had with the others, and all the between Souza and one of the cleaners at her home. All spectacular. Like he usually does in any other episodes, it makes you fight through that question. Will you sacrifice your individuality for peace? For peace with the entire world, everything functioning normal? Would you rather be in a hive mind and sacrifice your individuality, or deal with the chaos of having all the individuality and not be a hive mind? It's very intense. I love seeing the struggle that Carol goes through trying to piece all this together. It's so far a great series to me. So we'll see what happens in episode 5. You let me know what you think. Hive mind, individuality. I think it's pretty easy, but they're making a compelling argument in this show. So let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. Catch you in the next video. Until then, be blessed. See you later.